Welcome to Chapter 7 of Engage and Grow. We're up to Step 4 now in our 6-step process. Evaluate, know where everybody's at, get that benchmark, buy in, get everyone to start winning and start having a process moving forward. Unify, get the teams coming together as human beings. And now we've got to look at alignment. Alignment is to get things in a straight line, to get things to move towards each other. Of course, having a common goal or a common vision is part of that. Rich, I want to talk to you first, because I think that alignment is where we start to say this isn't just a process where, hey, we've unified them, it's magic, they're there together forever. This is a continuous process. Give us more on that.
So the business is like the human body. So just like running a marathon, okay? Same goes with business. If you've got splinters in your feet running a marathon, you need to stop and you need to heal the feet. And that's what happens with businesses. And these splinters we talk about is usually broken relationships. Right. So if we really want to align, we've got to stop, we've got to check in, we've got to heal the business. And it's the leader's responsibility to heal the business. Instead of pulling a blind eye, they can look after it. No, they can't, because we're creatures of habit and it's usually someone else's fault. And we live in a victim type mentality. A lot of people, not us here, maybe not. So,
of course, no one watching this, we love our audience, and none of them have ever got anything wrong, but there might be an idea or two to pick up from this.
Yeah, so really it's about just checking in all the time, and that's why constant, regular, honest feedback sessions, which we'll go into a minute, and we have discussed on, but it's all about engagement is again a fitness. It's about maintenance, it's about regularity, and it's about accountability. You can't just have a process unraveling without everyone being accountable to the process. And if it's not working, ask them how we can fix it.
Marshall, some of the stuff you do with this is genius, especially some of the red, yellow. I mean, tell us more about that one, because I think that's a great way for people to understand how we continuously do this alignment.
Well, this is a story that's in the book American Icon. It's about my friend Alan Maloney, a wonderful book. And what he did, he goes to Ford. The company's losing $17 billion with a B dollars, a lot of money. So he says, all right, back to alignment. Let's all say, what are your top 5 priorities? And for each one, we're going to go red, yellow, green. Green is, I'm on plan. Yellow is, I'm not on plan, have a strategy to get there. And red, not on plan, no strategy. So the first meeting, you've got these 16 leaders, 5 priorities, red, yellow, green, all green. Now the company is losing $17 billion with the B dollars. So Alan goes, well, let's see. We're losing $17 billion and everyone is on plan. I guess the plan must be to lose at least $17 billion, because that's where we're going here.
We're going to 20 next. That's it.
We achieved it. We achieved it.
We don't have a forecasting problem. We have a performance problem. Let's do it again. Finally, one of the people stands up and says red. Alan stands up and applauds and he goes, thank you for having the courage to say red. Thank you for having the courage to say red. Now he said, you're not on plan and you don't know how to get there. It's okay. Then he said something I've almost never heard a CEO say. Let me assure you of one thing. I'm the CEO of the Ford Motor Company. On this topic, I know a lot less than you. I know a lot less than you do. Why don't we actually get people together, back to alignment, who all know something? Let's find the right experts and then work on solving the problem. He said within 10 minutes, the problem was largely solved. Once I got over that egotistical, I have to do everything on my own, I don't have to worry about alignment with everybody else, life is much, much worse. Well, once we all get the courage to say, you know what, I'm not, and by the way, we're not all green for everything, we're all red for stuff and yellow for stuff. And once those charts started turning, the company started turning.
I think it's really important to understand that the courage that was necessary in that culture to shift and acknowledge that is important. Rich, I want to go back to red, yellow, green, because you've used it in some of the teams you've evaluated where you've asked them a simple question. Who on the team is here for themselves and who on the team is here actually 100% for the team? Now, you first started doing this with sporting teams because they're in that really high, intense environment and they're willing to do this. Business teams, we've got to go a little bit slower on that. That's why we evaluate, we buy in, we unify, and then hit a line. Tell us the story about that, because I think it's vital for people to understand that alignment is something that's continuous when you measure.
So I was in my 3rd year there, and I had the trust of the group, 44 elite athletes. And what I did with them is I said to them, they're your 5 behaviours, right? Tangible behaviours, not values. Tangible behaviours, fun, respect, honesty, these sorts of behaviours. And so what I did is I gave them all a piece of paper, and with 44 names on it, and I said, go in a quiet corner of the room, take a pen and just circle the guys that live and breathe these 5 behaviours 24/7. The next day I came back and I showed them the results. and no one was in the top 5, had 5 out of 5. And you could see where you ranked.
So you're saying that every member of the team has to say that they stand and live and breathe those things,
That's
not
right.
just 1 or 2 members say it.
That's
every
right.
member of the team.
Yeah.
See, this level of discipline is something that I think scares a lot of business owners, Mark, because the silos that have been created, and I get it that in a sporting team that they go at it that hard.
Sure.
The silos in a business, though, have to be broken down, Mark. And
Yes.
you've got some the 4 C's that you use to break that down. Please teach us that, because
Well, the difference we found was that, think about it, I mean, there's not a bad intention that comes from silos in the first place. Why did we create the silos? It's because as we grow as an organization, we need subject matter experts, and they jump in that silo and they get things done better and better and better, and still until it starts to create bureaucracy. And we're no longer, we often lose the plot. As we're growing the organization, now it's no longer delivering for customers as we had intended those subject matter experts to do. So we have to break down, to your point, of those silos. And I think kind of deep in the heart of everything that we've heard from Marshall and Rich and from you today has been the willingness and the courage and the discipline for the leader to say, I need help.
Yeah.
I need help. And being alpha, which some of us are, asking for help, this is not a natural act.
well, as coaches, it used to be, and Marshall, you and I have had long conversations about this. It used to be that, you're underperforming, we're going to get you a coach before we fire you.
Right.
That was the thing.
Stigmatized, yeah, right.
Whereas
You're
now
broken.
I've seen such a shift where this is a good employee. We're going to invest in them and get them a coach to make them a great employee or an amazing team member. I've seen that shift.
Huge shift. Well, one thing I'm very proud of in my book, Triggers, 27 major CEOs endorsed the book. Now, why am I so proud of that? 30 years ago, no CEOs admit to have a coach. You'd be ashamed or embarrassed. How many of the top 10 tennis players have coaches? 10. They all have coaches, right?
Would you ever imagine in sport not having a coach?
you couldn't
right.
imagine.
You're
You couldn't
right.
imagine.
They all have a
Do you
coach.
actually want to be better in the next game? Not so much.
Having fun.
So hang on, let's go back to breaking down silos. We can talk on different subjects all day. Breaking down silos so that we can align this team. Let's go back to the 4 C's.
It comes to that premise of realizing that if we're going to break down the silos, first we need to understand there was good intentions there.
Right.
But we were doing it because we were trying to help each other. We're all subject matter experts. We're trying to help the customer. Now, not so much. We need now to weave this together. So if we go back to the why, that we had them in the first place, and then we could break them down by asking for help. That the reason is for each of these individuals on the team to be supporting each other's mission to serve the customer and asking that help. So the 4 C's come to take a critical look at why it is that's so damn hard to do. I mean, it just almost never
Easy said.
happens.
Easy
It just
said.
So Tesla, think about Elon Musk. This
Right.
guy has been disrupting industry after industry, and he's trying to bring back the electric car, and he's trying to reinvent the way we use energy in the country. And as he builds a big company, he starts to get these silos. So how's he going to break those down? Now, this guy has been so successful that when he came out with the Model 3, which has been announced, it sold better than the iPhone. Can you imagine a $30,000 product being the best-selling device ever sold in history? That's 500,000 people booked in the first 2 days. So he knows how to be successful, but not if he has these silos. So what he realizes that we're really 4 problems with high achievers that we needed to work through and be explicit about. First, we needed to give context. In other words, why are we trying to work together? What is the mission? This gets us back to purpose. We need to show the context of why this team needs to be working towards X goal. Have we bought in? Have we aligned? We often will leave out the context. We'll assume that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
That really leads us to the fact that alpha people tend to be competitive. Have we set alignments in place, or we've set an incentives in place to actually pick each other off, to pit one silo against the other? You'd be amazed if you actually looked at the comp systems of a lot of companies, how they pit silos against each other. I'm sorry, we can talk about it until we're blue in the face. We are not changing until you change the incentives.
Yeah.
We've got to change that so we get rid of the competition that's occurring, not just because they're alpha, but because I get paid more if you lose. It's a zero-sum game.
Right.
Why am I should be actually having incentives that say, Marshall, Rich, Brad, I win when we win,
Right.
and I'm also accountable to
Yes.
playing my place on the team. So that's competition. The third area is clarity. I'm always shocked at how many times when I do the wonderful team exercise that Marshall taught us, I'll ask them, can you now recite for me what the goals are of this group and how we measure it?
Right.
What are our metrics? Now, how many people around the table? How far would that go around the table before you have version control?
Right.
Yeah.
Getting that clarity. Have we actually agreed on the basic premise of what we're trying to achieve together? If it's not a silo, what the hell is it?
Yeah. So important.
And then the fourth area ends up really being around this idea that at the end of the day, we need to be willing to give credit. So giving credit, I mean, I'm sorry, at the end of the day, maybe it's not just money, and it's not just recognition in terms of being significant in the marketplace. You know what? I want to know that I belong to this team. That I want credit for showing up today and being a part of this incredible engagement to teach others. Everybody wants credit, and it's not a zero sum.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, fantastic. So, Rich, activities to make this happen and make it a reality to align people. And of course, it's got to be done consistently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've used Marshall's Feed Forward, and it's a fantastic activity, and I highly recommend it, as Mark's alluded to. Let's go back to the football team. Okay, so we came in and did the survey results. Everyone knew where they sat. So you had a number whether 5 people thought you were fully engaged to those 5 behaviours. Then I came back in every 8 weeks to do the same survey, and they're competitive, and so they didn't know who was voting for them, and so all they had to do was improve their behaviours. So what we did, the key activity was each week after game day reviews, we would sit down and spend more times on behaviours than game day reviews, and we just set it up into small teams in groups of 7, and each week 2 players would get a round table feedback. And how that works is quite simply, what's number 1 strength Marshall brings to the success of the team, what's one area that he needs to improve on for the success of the team, based on the behaviours as well. Okay, and then they got the feedback. So here you had to give honest feedback, and then after that we'd coach them and make sure they had the right levels of support. And so after 8 weeks, we went to a 32-week program. We basically had about 3/4 of the group in the top echelon of everyone saying 5 out of 5 living and breathing those behaviours. Okay, so there's a really, I mean, you wouldn't do that in an, just let me add, the roundtable session, that's our most popular engagement key. By far, because millennials in particular need constant feedback, and they need equalisation. You touched on respect. So once you've done that, then we do the coaching model, and that's quite simply, what do you want to work on? Why do you want to work on it? What's the main actions? What could get in your way? And who are you going to partner with? Who's got the skill that you need? And go and ask them to be your accountability partner.
There's so many brilliant lessons right there. I think that consistency of approach, we've harped on it so many times, and there's a reason we're being consistent in what we're saying. But ultimately, the alignment of human beings in an organisation, we get the right direction, we know where we're going, we start to break down those silos and bring people together so that they do it. But ultimately, Marshall, when you sit down and you look at aligning an organisation, it does start with the leader knowing where they're going and knowing where we're headed, and then bringing the team with them.
That's right.
Give us 1 or 2 ideas, that, because you've coached so many leaders to get real clear on where they're going. I think that that's an important addition to this chapter.
Well, I think it is too. You really need to say aligned to what? I mean, alignment is good. You can be aligned to go in the wrong direction and you're just going backwards. So aligned to what, and getting that leader to have the real clarity of where are we going. And then everything flows from that. Back to my friend Alan, you have to have those top 5 priorities, red, yellow, green, and then everybody has to agree that your priority fits to mine. One other very, very important point on alignment is this. Typically, and another great lesson from my friend is, the IT person has a problem with the country manager in Brazil. So what happens is the Brazil person blames IT. The IT blames Brazil. And then so they have this mutual blaming fest. Alan's philosophy is wrong. If there's a problem, you both have the problem. And he has no tolerance for people coming and say, let me talk about the other person's problem. His attitude is always the same, talk to the other person. Achieve alignment yourself. Then come back and talk to me. If you can't, you can come back and talk to me. He said in his 8 years at Ford, it only happened twice.
Right.
And it's okay if it does happen. He said, though, if you can't work it out, it's okay. I'll make a decision. I can make a decision. On the other hand, your first job is to achieve alignment yourself, not to come in and whine to the CEO about somebody else's problems.
Well, I think when you look at a cultural fit, and I know in my organisation we have a point of power, and you're either above the point or below it. Below it is blame, excuse, and denial, and above that point is ownership, accountable, and responsible. And you know, it's, if you participate, as you said, if 2 people participate in that negative alignment, then they're going to keep going that way. An aligned organization is one that's on track for engagement. An aligned organization is not something that happens in a day or a week. It's a consistent process of building that team, healing old wounds in relationships, and building better, stronger relationships. And I think the biggest win out of alignment is you don't just get an aligned team, you start to see who the leaders are. You start to develop and grow future leaders for your company. So evaluate first, get the buy-in, get those small wins happening so people start to have something they can buy into. Unify the team, get the humans connected, and then let's get really aligned in the direction we're going as a team, start to build those leaders and build the organization. As we all say, we start to engage, we start to grow.